People, deluded, I'm back again. Big up you lot tuned in. Please make sure you're smashing the like button, turning on your notification bells, leaving a comment at the bottom of the video and participating in the live chat, people. And check out the rest of the other vids. Now, on this Saturday, there isn't too much. It's nice to know in, the previous week, including, the existing week, from Monday to Saturday at this point, while we haven't seen anything officially announced beyond Gabriel Magalhaes, Miles Lewis-Skelly signing new deals, we're led to believe that Zubimendi's obviously done. Mosquera, which we'll get onto, the Valencia centre back slash right back, that's moving in the right direction. Thomas Partey we're all led to believe that he's leaving. Simultaneously, Nordgaard is coming through the door. So we're getting a lot of squad fillers. But I know we all want an Eze, a Rodrigo, Andor, a Cesco, and a Gyokeres, and all those kind of guys that are going to score the goals and make the difference. Now, big up African Gooner. Follow him as well, as you can see here. He's always on my platform. Blind reported that Leipzig have lowered their asking price for the sale of Benjamin Sesko. With no movement in recent weeks, Leipzig are now considering a 60 million or more realistic price. I understand it, Leipzig, Premier League clubs have money. You've got a striker that seemed to be wanted by a lot of clubs in a day and age where left wing as well, but the striker market, let's have it right, it's on the floor. So I don't begrudge you for trying to get your money, but this is a game of chicken. You're not working with Edu anymore. It's big bad Berta. You're seeing what he's doing. You're seeing the talking points and fallout talking points positively regarding Miles Lewis-Skelly's deal with Berta as well. So yeah, man, lower the price. The quicker you sell us this guy, you might have even been able to get Mosquera. The quicker you sell him, Openda and or Javi Simmons, the quicker you lot can get what the players you lot need to get into and move forward and try to qualify for the Champions League for the following season, so 2026-27. So yeah, man, stop ramping, man. Let's just get this done. I believe Cesco is the one the club wants. I think they've done the groundwork. I hope Berta can get both of them. I'd prefer Gyokeres, and I think I'm the only one on YouTube that is cool with either Cesco and Gyokeres. Of course, let me know your thoughts. There's positives and negatives to both. Why I lean towards more Gyokeres, and I know Portuguese league, all of this, it's just something a bit different. It really is win now mode. He's 27. What you see is what you kind of get with Cesco. Obviously, you need to help us in the short term, and I think he's a bit more further forward in his development that everybody, including myself, is giving credit for. But it really is that whole next 2-3 years, etc., etc. And I understand it, resale value, all of that, but we need to win something now. I think even the most patient of Arsenal fans, or even football fans that are not biased, could see such people. Romano did say, when this will load, the conversation for both Benjamin Sesko and Gyokeres is still ongoing with daily contacts between all parties involved. Arsenal are on it, so let's see what they'll decide. For sure, a new striker will be at Arsenal this summer. You would have seen this week, Sesko unfollowed Manchester City, but followed us on Instagram. I don't know if that means anything. Arsenal target Sesko, asking price changes as transfer U-turn made. We've been heavily linked with both Sesko and Gyokeres. Our pursuit of Sesko has received a boost. Now the other mainstream medias are picking this up because they've reportedly lowered their asking price. Something had to happen. Yeah, of course, I'm not naive. If Arsenal don't go and get Cesco, and we completely forget that Gyokeres is a thing, if we don't go and get Cesco, because he can go somewhere else. He's been linked with a number of clubs, but it's even like Sporting. Several clubs have been linked with these two strikers. Someone's got to miss out, and at some point, what if all of these clubs F off and say, I'm going and doing XYZ? They all buy strikers that are not the two names mentioned. You're left in the lurch, and I'm sure you want to keep these players, but you risk an unhappy player. I think there's been more kind of silence with Cesco and Leipzig. I don't feel like that's a rocky relationship. With Gyokeres, we've seen a lot of falling out talking points, people. Mikel Arteta recognises the need for a top-tier striker to enhance their attack following a third consecutive second-place finish in the Premier League. Sporting director Andrea Berta is responsible for securing one and has considered deals for Cesco and Gyokeres. However, there has been a recent lull in activity, much to the frustration of some fans who are eager for a striker to be signed. Yet it appears Arsenal's patience may pay off, with Blim reporting that Leipzig are softening their previous stance. It was initially believed that the German team were demanding a fee ranging from 68 million to 85 million for Cesco. This deterred the Premier League side, who responded by considering alternatives. So a game of chicken. Now it seems a U-turn has been made, and a fee of 59.7 million could suffice, people, for the 22-year-old. He's contracted until 2029. He did sign a new deal last year. Arsenal have been eyeing Cesco for some time. He's got Premier League, Bundesliga experience, which is of a higher level than Portugal, even though I like Gyokeres, and he's got time on his side. Even though Gyokeres is 27, people behave like that's 97. While the Gunners are keen on signing him, Cesco's agent Elves Bezanovic is determined to handle negotiations with Leipzig honourably, and he said that before. I have covered that before. I'm not going to bore you lot and go over that again. So yeah, everybody's more or less reporting the same things and urging patience and saying a fee of about 70 million euros, 59.7 million pounds for the 22-year-old is more than enough. I mean, it'd be something at this point if Cesco wasn't open to joining the Premier League. People, it's nonsense, isn't it? So we'll have to see what's going on there. This is said according to reports in Italy about what an English team is going to do on a Sweden international who plays for a Portuguese club. Why is it primarily coming out of Italy? Maybe because he's been linked with Juventus and Napoli once upon a time. Apparently, he will sign for Gyokeres will sign for Arsenal. Arsenal will sign him this summer. People. So we'll have to see how that one goes. It's true that Arsenal have Cesco in their sights, but Arsenal will sign Gyokeres because he wants to join Arsenal. But who said Cesco don't? Other clubs have tried to enter the race like Juventus, but he will go to Arsenal, and other strikers won't come if he goes there. He was their first target from the start, and now they have to find an agreement with Sporting. He'll be an Arsenal player. So that directly conflates what we just read, really, and everybody's doing whatever. This is said Manchester United are back in contention, people, for Gyokeres' signature, and he could actually reignite with Amorim, which is something we all probably expected. Apparently, we're yet to actually return to the negotiating table for Gyokeres with Sporting, and they raised their asking price to 80 million euros despite an alleged agreement of 65 million. Simultaneously, as we've just read, Leipzig have lowered theirs. For me, it's more of a drag out thing. Like, it's dragging out with Gyokeres now or Sporting. Decision has to be made. If Cesco's the one, go and get it done pre-season. The only thing I want to see drag is a Rodrigo, because I think, not that I don't want an improvement, and I know we've got Marino and we've got Kai Havertz, but we need to start the season with an option, or for me, starting Cesco or Gyokeres through the middle. Obviously, all the other signings need to get through the door. I need an upgrade, which Rodrigo is, and we're going to get into Eze. Let me know your thoughts, Eze or Rodrigo, people. But I think we can, like, obviously, we want these guys in July. The Premier League kicks off in August. In an ideal world, Eze, Rodrigo, we've even been linked with Vanamola, Lookman, all of these guys, arrive immediately in it. But I think with Martinelli and Trossard, at least for a couple of weeks until the deadline of September the 1st, we can afford the left wing, if it is a top tier A-class target like a Rodrigo, to kind of, provided you do all the incoming business, to kind of drag people. So we'll have to see. So yeah, we're still linked with Cesco. Cesco isn't getting the interest he perhaps felt he would this summer, and having vowed to never play for Sporting again, the 27-year-old is believed to be widening the scope of clubs he would be willing to join for him to force an exit from the Portuguese side. With Arsenal considering moving for Cesco, Gyokeres is thought to be increasingly aware that his best bet may be to reignite with Amorim at Manchester United. And Man United and Arsenal apparently are the last team standing for Gyokeres. The Saudi clubs, it didn't work. It seems like Juventus are moving away from it. Tentatively been linked with Real Madrid. Can't see that happening, even though they need a striker. They've been linked with a striker, but I think it'd be more like a Joselu kind of one. Has been linked with Liverpool. Don't really buy that. So yeah, we'll have to see how these things develop. He's resisting all offers in order to join Arsenal, according to Duncan Castles. I did cover this yesterday, but apparently Arsenal have added Nicholas Jackson to their shortlist in the summer, people. Really? I mean, he can play out wide. I mean, boy, the only thing I could say around that is we're looking at strikers all around the market. And I know Chelsea have Liam Delap, who could play ahead of Nicholas Jackson. They're still linked with other strikers. So I'd imagine we're trying to go for, the impossible. Our first choice is probably Isaac. That's not happening. Then you got Gyokeres and Cesco. Then you got Nolly Watkins. Then you might have a wild card like Hugo Ekitike. And then God forbid, if we're running around on deadline day, this is where the Nicholas Jacksons come into it. The only reason I believe this is two things. We need a striker. He is that. And we've done work with Chelsea beyond before. Not even before. We're getting Kepa in it. Another man I missed out. That's where I kind of add fuel to the fire. For me, I don't buy this though. And, Arteta, you were saying goosebumps and this and that. I can't say this one is goosebumps. In fact, Zubamendi's the only one I get goosebumps with. I'm enticed by Cesco. I like Gyokeres. And I understand we need to plug gaps, and we made some competent signings. I think too much is being done around Nordgaard, probably because of his income into the club follows obviously party departing. So I'm not sure, man. There's more than one name. There's one more name that I've become aware of this week, which may come as a surprise, which is Nicholas Jackson. The striker has had an interesting time in his 2 years at Chelsea. Chelsea have always been looking for either adding someone else in the position or replacing him totally. So again, Chelsea want to probably move him on an upgrade. So that adds fuel to the fire of these whispers. Chelsea say they're not actively looking to sell Jackson in this window, but he's not one of the untouchable figures within the squad. The guidance I have on where Arsenal are on this is a broad range of options to deliberate. They want to ensure they get a centre forward for Arteta this window and don't feel like they did last summer. They'll only do one of these deals. They're telling the reps of the players involved what will it come down to is the deal that they believe makes the best sense for the club. Okay. So yeah, apparently this is said Cesco is asking for a release clause worth 20% more than his transfer fee. Get out of here with that, man. If you do the business, you will get a move. Apparently, Arsenal are considering placing a bid for Eze after calling their interest in Real Madrid's Rodrigo. Wouldn't say we're calling our interest, but there's a lot of dominoes that need to fall for Rodrigo. He needs to make it clear to Real Madrid, I'm cutting. Real Madrid need to make it clear we want to sell you for whatever reason. Xabi Alonso has to look him in the eye and say, listen, I'm not saying you can't change my mind across the course of a season. I'm not saying that I'll alienate you, but the level of football that you're seeking and the importance and favored positions, I'm not prepared to give you that. To which Rodrigo still might not leave, but he'd have to make it clear. We are told Arsenal have put their pursuit of the Brazilian superstar on ice for now, as they are unwilling to waste any more time waiting for him to make a decision on his Real Madrid future, which I'm all for. Arsenal held positive talks with Real Madrid, but on Thursday, the decision was made to move on from Rodrigo, as bringing in a winger is seen as a priority by the Gunners hierarchy. Arsenal will no longer engage in talks with the players' reps unless contacted directly and made aware that a deal is genuinely possible. We are told the Gunners are now fully focused on two domestic targets, Eze and Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa, people, which I'd be on either or. I think because of the release clause, and actually you're hearing you can pay the release clause in installments with Crystal Palace, and it probably was to be believed that Eze, this would be the summer he moves on. I think it's a lot easier. I don't know how difficult Aston Villa would make it for us to pursue Morgan Rogers. I mean, I'm on bringing in Eze. Can play in the 10, can play out wide, can play in the 8. Premier League proven, 27, ready to do this thing now, if I'm honest. Apparently, he's got a good relationship with Saka. You'd imagine that. They're both England internationals. Can never have too many good players. Apparently, Aston Villa are growing increasingly concerned about Arsenal's escalating interest in Rodgers, and the villains themselves are interested in Eze should their star attacker be poached. Fair play. So there's a lot of merry-go-rounds. Eze believes he'll be moving clubs this summer. Tottenham head the chase, but others, including Arsenal, have inquired. Areola and Bournemouth have made direct contact with Arsenal, and it says Mikel Arteta here, to discuss a bid for Reece Nelson, who's also being linked with Fulham. I don't really need to read this in it. Unfortunately for him, Nelson got injuries, but if Fulham want to take you, they need to take you. He needs to probably... It's actually mad that he's 25, you know. It's actually mad. Him, Hudson-Odoi and Sancho have all had various degrees of success, but none have gone on to be like fully England internationals on a consistent basis. Sancho obviously has, but you get the point. He's 25 now. You need to go somewhere and stay for a couple of years. Like 1 minute you're at Arsenal, then you're going on loan, not really pulling up any trees. And it's sad, man. It's sad because we've got Saka, we've got Saka, Wanyeri, Miles Lewis Skelly. It would have been nice to have Nelson play to some level of being able to contribute to our squad. The same goes for Emil Smith-Rowe, people. But it is what it is, man. Bournemouth, I mean, it's an exciting project, isn't it? They're going to lose a couple of players. If they haven't, they've lost their two centre. Well, they've lost 3 of their back 4. Or 4 of the back 5, if you include Kepa. Like what? Kepa's gone. He was a loanee, to be fair. They got back Neto. Kepa's gone. Kirk has gone. Sabani's gone PSG. Howson's gone Real Madrid. Damn, but Bournemouth did very well. Areola's a very good manager. They play exciting football. They press. They do a lot of stuff that Arsenal do. So it makes sense. And for me, go get the peas. Go and get the peas. The more players we get off the wage bill, the better. He's on not that I give a monkeys how much he gets paid. Go get paid, my guy. You're on 100 grand. If you get him on 100 grand, Zinchenko is on 100 grand. You've seen as high as 200 actually, but that's 100. That's 200 grand gone on 2 squad players. You throw in what we're saving with Jorginho. Obviously, it's different with Partey, but Partey and Tierney, we divert these funds, or better yet, these resources to do other things, people. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. For what it's worth, Nelson is contracted until 2027. Arsenal are open to offers, despite Arteta being a big fan. You could be realistically. I think Arsenal want to move you on, but I think if he's cool with being a squad player, I don't think anyone would say no, really. But you're not going to play to the level you need to. And then also, when you're hearing they're preparing to sell Semenyo, is there any credibility in the rumors? They have a 70 million asking price apparently for him. Fulham are also monitoring the situation, but apparently Bournemouth are currently the favourites, thanks to Areola's direct involvement and playing style that suits Nelson. Fair enough. He only played 12 times last season. Again, 2 hamstring injuries, I believe. It's harsh. This is said, if anything goes left, basically, with Cesco and Gyokeres, Ollie Watkins is still figuring on our list, people. So Don't think that one's going away. On Mascara, the first bid was rejected, as I've discussed yesterday. That typically happens. Apparently, we're hopeful to get it done. Romano has said Arsenal behind the scenes have been working very well on Christian Mosquera. My understanding is that the player wants to go to Arsenal and he sees Arsenal as the perfect opportunity for his career. You have to compete with Gabriel, with Saliba, but what I am hearing is that Mosquera is not scared of this. He wants to be there. My feeling is that for around 20 million to 25 million euros, Arsenal can get a deal done. That's good news. On Zubamendi, Romano said medical done, contract has been signed, everything's done. So we're just waiting on an announcement. Respectfully to AFTV, and I'm sure they got their sources, Arsenal have held talks with Ademola Lookman ahead of a potential summer transfer. Do we believe that? This is why I can't see us getting Eze and Lookman and Gyokeres, if that makes sense, because our club love to talk about the 27 million. For what it's worth, wouldn't be against Lookman. Don't think he's the first choice target by any stretch of the imagination. Ben Jacobs has said in the past hours, Tottenham have pulled out of the race for Eze. So maybe that adds fuel to the fire. Once again, people were still battling to go and get Mosquera over the line. He's got a contract for another year at Valencia. He's shown no willingness to sign one. We want to negotiate it below his 20 million euros asking price. He's made it clear he wants to leave. And apparently Valencia are strapped for cash, people. So, so in short, Arsenal are hopeful of agreeing a deal to sign him, which we all are hopeful of that, people. What is this? Arsenal could revisit their previous interest in John Duran just because he's open to returning to Europe and been linked with Fenerbahce. Really? Really? Again, creative journalism, big them up. Gyokeres has Arsenal change of heart after United contact. So once again, he could be set to go to Old Trafford. Fulham are being linked with a double raid. They've been linked with Reece Nelson and Zinchenko. That's actually something. Obviously, I'm excited about incomings. I want incomings, but the quicker we move on Zinchenko, move on Nelson, and respectfully to them, all the players that need to be moved on, they're better in it. So at least we have some. I mean, you're always going to want to bring in players. Players always going to want to leave. This is the belly of the beast of football. But I need to see clarity over a lot of these players' futures, man, and just the balance sheet, I guess, as well. Arsenal were linked this weekend, or better yet, this week, and also this weekend with Bruno Bidon of Corinthians. He's like a Brazilian Spanish midfielder, can play as an 8. I don't buy it just because if we are going to do this, I think we'll do it when you've got your striker in, got your left winger in. Bearing in mind, we've got 2 central midfielders now. If I'm honest with you, you've got Zubamendi now, Nordgaard, Rice is there. Push comes to shove. Marino is there. Kai Havertz could play there. You have got the Wanyeris and Luis Skelly's and other guards that you could move around. On paper, I don't think he'd be here, but you've got Fabio Vieira. I don't see another centre mid coming in. Maybe if we bring in all the players we need to, flush out all the players, there's a bit of money there to get a market opportunity. Maybe you bring him in, get him cheap, which I don't believe because Corinthians rate him very highly. So I'm not going to give much time to it, if that makes sense. Sammy Motbell has spoken about Gurhey. We'd all love Mark Gurhey. I want Hato, regardless of what we're doing with Mosquera. He said the issue with Gurhey is he looks at Arsenal, and of course, if Arsenal came to him with a proposal to say you're going to be one of our starting centre backs, then he would run across London to do that deal. I'm sure he would. But the problem that Arsenal are going to face is if they sign a centre half this summer, is in convincing them to come and be number 3, come and become third choice. But wouldn't that be the same at Liverpool? Now, Gurhey might be looking at it a bit different because I think the one thing Liverpool and Arsenal have in common is that they've got 4 between the 2 teams. Great centre halves, 2 great centre half partnerships. You've got Gabriel Magalhaes, you've got Saliba, you've got Van Dijk, and you've obviously got Konate. So at the point of entry, if he signed today, I'd back Gurhey to give them problems, and you never know what the manager would do. But if you don't believe you're going to play ahead of Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes, what makes you think you're going to play ahead of Van Dijk and Konate that just won the league? Maybe, he's looking at it because you are seeing rumours Konate has no plans to sign a new deal over there at Crystal Palace. Maybe Liverpool let him go. They don't want another Trent Alexander-Arnold incident. Maybe he signs a new deal. Van Dijk has a couple of years, but obviously time catches up to everyone. He's on the wrong side of 30. Maybe he's sitting there saying, you know what? I still reckon I'm going to get England opportunity. The manager might be saying he's going to play me. All of these clubs have a lot of good football. Whether it's Van Dijk being moved on, whether it's Konate, I'm going to get an opportunity there. Honestly, I don't know, people. I just think it comes down to the P's. Hattle probably cost 35 all the way, anything from 35 to 50. Gurhey, for me, is 50 and upwards. Mosquera is a bit cheaper, so it allows us to play around with stuff. Spare thought for Odegaard, man. He's taking legal action against 2 Norwegian publications just days after his wedding was disrupted by a photographer being dragged away by security. What a pussy, not Odegaard. Like, I understand this is your job, but this is meant to be friends and family and loved ones. And a man's getting married. He's going to spend the rest of his life, I hope, with his wife and whatnot. Where was Arteta? Arteta, you should have rugby tackled him. What, like, I know a lot of people in the paparazzi are scumbags, but I mean, come on, man, have a heart, mate. Like, have a heart. We're still being linked with Eze, and the best news is Miles Lewis Skelly signed a new deal.